Welcome to Generation AI, the show where we explore how AI is reshaping our generation. I'm Derek Staahl. On the show today, AI in healthcare. A startup here in Arizona is demonstrating how AI can have a potentially life-saving impact, how they're using AI to catch seniors before they fall. Plus, all this new technology can feel daunting these days, no matter your age. We'll take you to an AI class for seniors and show you the lessons we can all learn from it. First, let's get to the headlines. We've learned the Pentagon used Anthropic's AI tool Claude during the initial assault on Iran and is still using it despite a government order to cut ties with the company. That's according to CBS News. The military launched its assault on Saturday, one day after U.S. officials declared Anthropic a supply chain risk following a high-profile contract dispute. U.S. officials wanted Anthropic to give them access to its AI tools for any lawful use, but Anthropic demanded assurances that the government would not use its AI to engage in a mass domestic surveillance program or to make fully autonomous lethal weapons. CBS News spoke with Anthropic's CEO on Friday, one day before the attack.
It's about the principle of standing up for what's right.
Do you think that Anthropic knows better than the Pentagon here?
One of the things about a free market and free enterprise is different folks can provide different products under different principles. Our model has a personality. It's capable of certain things. It's able to do certain things reliably. It's able to not do certain things reliably. And I think we are a good judge of what our models can do reliably and what they cannot do reliably.
President Trump's order to cut ties with Anthropic gives the Defense Department 6 months to phase out the company. Customs and Border Protection has built a surveillance network of hidden AI-powered cameras in Arizona that spans more than 100 miles from the border. This was first reported by AZ Mirror and the Tucson Sentinel. CBP is using tools like automated license plate readers hidden inside of orange traffic cones, yellow barrels, or on the back of overhead highway signs. Some of the cameras are from Flock Safety, a company that's drawn attention from protesters for its role in immigration arrests. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors has cleared the way for a huge new data center complex covering 600 acres outside of Tonopah. Supervisors approved a rezoning request for a site that could host as many as 9 data centers, each about the size of 2 Costcos. The land is close to the Harquahala generating facility, and it would have its own electric substations on site. For a deep dive on data centers and exactly how much water and electricity they use, check out episode 3 of Generation AI. Well, the rush to build data centers is reshaping chip production and causing some headaches in the smartphone industry. According to the International Data Corporation, there is a worldwide shortage of certain memory chips because of surging AI demand. Chip makers are prioritizing data center components because they can make more profit off them and producing fewer chips for devices like phones, laptops, and gaming consoles. IDC projects the average price of a smartphone could rise about 14% this year. As a result, the group also expects global smartphone sales in 2026 to fall to their lowest level in more than a decade. If you call the police in Reno, Nevada, you might be routed to AI instead of a human dispatcher. Reno police have started using AI to assist with non-emergency calls. Instead of encountering a traditional phone tree where you have to press buttons, callers interact with an AI voice assistant that gathers basic information about what happened and where, and will then forward those details to the right department. Human dispatchers still handle all the 911 emergency calls, but city leaders say it's all about improving resources and efficiency. And finally, fast food giant Burger King is turning to AI to teach employees better manners. Burger King says it's piloting an AI chatbot named Patty in 500 restaurants. She's connected to worker headsets and analyzes their interactions with customers. Burger King says the idea isn't to survey employees or enforce a script, but it's to give managers feedback on hospitality norms and ultimately improve manners. Burger King says Patty can also help manage orders and do restocking. Plans to take Patty nationwide by the end of this year. Coming up, there's a new assistant inside some Arizona senior living facilities, how an AI-powered system called Paul is helping staff intervene and prevent falls. That's next when Generation AI continues. Welcome back to Generation AI. The leading cause of injury for older Americans is a fall. Each year, about 1 in 4 seniors experience a fall, and the injuries can be devastating, sometimes deadly. But a healthcare startup is showing AI can help. They've put AI-powered devices in a number of Arizona senior living communities, and they're showing some impressive results. The company is called Helpy, and the founder, Sandro Cilurzo, is here with us today to talk about this AI-powered device you've got, Sandro. It's called Paul. Tell us about how it works.
Yes, thanks for having me first, and Derek. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
This is Paul, this AI-powered device, which is a privacy-preserving technology we have invented. It's radar-based, so it leverages the radio waves. There is no camera, no microphone. So he respects privacy and dignity of the residents in their own apartment. And Paul can understand human motion patterns. And the underlying artificial intelligence is where the heavy lifting and the magic is coming from, because the AI truly understands not only that there is motion, like a regular motion sensor. There are regular motion sensors in a public bathroom when you need to wave with your hands to get the light on.
Yeah.
They only can tell you motion, no motion. Paul understands what kind of motion pattern is happening where in the room, how do we move, like literally gait, posture, stability of walking, stride length, how does a resident take their steps from A to B, how do they get from a standing position into a seated position, how do I get out of my chair in the evening, quality of the nighttime recovery, how do I sleep, all of that matters because these are often early signs if a resident has an elevated risk of falling, given on how they move through space.
Interesting. And so I imagine you are taking all that data, you're comparing it to the baseline of the individual perhaps, and seeing are they deviating from their baseline?
Yes, it goes in that direction, that's correct, but it's even more sophisticated behind the scenes because we are like operating since May 2019. I'm out of Switzerland. This is where the accent is coming from, which you clearly can hear. I'm not out of Phoenix, but I moved to Phoenix in October 2024. But Paul has always served only older adults. So over time, Paul has measured over 6 billion motion measurements globally from different seniors in their different stages of lives. So he learned a lot in the past. And through that, he's able to apply what he has learned over this huge time frame and applies it on an individual basis, like you mentioned, the baseline. So he leverages what he knows and adapts on the fly to the circumstances of the resident.
Fascinating. So you mentioned Switzerland. You were working as a cybersecurity officer in Switzerland when you came up with this idea.
Yes.
What inspired you to try to tackle this problem?
So I was employed back then 9 years ago in a healthcare facility in Switzerland, which was serving seniors, dementia care, all the different level of care. And I was a cybersecurity officer in that organization. And as part of my role, I was tasked in an innovation council to help my chief medical officer back then, director of nursing. And every single month, the same #1 problem was there too, like here in the US, about our residents which had to experience falls. So we were strategizing, searching solutions in the market, and I had to help them to find solutions. This was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
But nothing met the expectations, either from a clinical standpoint or it was privacy invading for the residents. So, and after a while, I was like, you know what? I would build this really differently myself. And this is how I dedicated then my life to build this company.
So we have some numbers that I want to show the folks about the scope of the problem here in the United States. 14 million Americans age 65 plus fall each year. There can be deaths from falls, and the death rates have been rising. They rose 71% from 2003 to 2023. There's a lot of healthcare spending on this. Healthcare spending hit $80 billion in 2020, and it's projected to hit $101 billion in 2030. And Medicare, aka the taxpayer, pays about 2/3 of all the costs. So this is an issue that really affects everybody. I want to contrast those numbers with the numbers that you're seeing here locally. So tell us about how you've deployed this device. First up in Arizona, how's it been going?
So we started to serve communities here in Arizona January 2024. The first community literally reached out to us out of Mesa. So this is one of the case studies which you were referencing, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
And literally now are thousands of Poles serving residents all over, like the Phoenix Valley and Tucson, so different regions here in Arizona where Paul is in action. And the results were really amazing because what Paul allows these communities to achieve is literally to know in advance if a resident has an elevated risk of falling and make proactive interventions. So instead of reacting after the fall has happened, they can completely change their game because Paul is like a virtual caregiver assistant in the room because Paul is not preventing the fall. The caregivers are the heroes, you know?
Sure.
The heroes on the floor are the humans, which leverage that information to be much faster in spotting potential challenges, changes in conditions, a rising risk, and make through that proactive interventions. And then we see a lower amount of falls.
And we're showing some of the numbers on the screen from some of your first 3 case studies: Park Senior Villas, Fellowship Square Mesa, Westminster Village, and Scottsdale. And the numbers are pretty dramatic. I mean, between a 67% reduction in falls and a 72% reduction in falls. How long did it take for these places to see those types of results?
The impact was immediate. Literally after Paul is installed and we roll out what we call the Helpy program, this is literally the workflow which is introduced to these communities. From the first month onward, it's a radical drop.
Wow.
And this is like you mentioned, those 3 case studies. We have as well published another case study over 11 different senior communities here in Arizona. And the average reduction, the monthly fall rate reduction over all those 11 was 66%. This was the average which we have seen. And this is as well the reason why we were able to grow really fast, because it's an immediate impact.
Got it. So Paul is on the ceiling, looks like a smoke detector, scanning people's movement patterns, sending out alerts to the staff if it detects a potential problem. My question to you is, there's a term in psychology called the Hawthorne effect. And the Hawthorne effect is when people pay more attention to the task they're doing when they know that they're being watched. So Paul is doing the watching, the staff knows they're being watched. How confident are you that you can assign the success you're seeing to Paul as a device and not to the Hawthorne effect?
Yes. I mean, that's a great question from a statistical standpoint as well. And we can be really certain from the impact size because the numbers are really significant. And you can literally say that as soon as you have a look into the communities, when they start serving different level of care, they implement it, for example, first in assisted living, then maybe memory care. So you see it's a timed rollout, and you can literally see how the impact unfolds over time. And yes, there are, of course, many different variables which influence the outcome.
Sure.
And this is part of the program because it is really a holistic approach, understanding the resident's risk, but as well to enable those caregivers to be proactive. So it creates a new dedication to excellence, which influence these numbers. In the end, the beneficiary are the residents by having fewer falls.
Have you worked with any independent researchers to validate these results yet?
Not yet, but it's definitely part
plan
of
in the future.
It's a plan, absolutely, yes.
What's the false alarm rate on Paul? Because obviously when you're scanning people and we see systems all the time come up with false alarms. Does it detect, incorrectly?
Yeah, I mean, you need to think about what Paul does. He spots if a resident has an elevated risk of falling. This is step 1. And the second part is he triages staff members to the right resident in the right moment in time. For example, 2 a.m. in the morning, somebody awakes at night, transitions out of the bed. That's the moment when you will get a preventive alarm, when you get into the apartment. So you are able to verify literally in real time that you are with the right resident and help them. So we never received this feedback from the communities on the floor that they received alerts for residents which were not like in a position where they should be present to help them. So false alerts have not been the concern of ours so far.
Got it. One of the concerns, though, that I'm sure you get a lot has to do with privacy, right? And even though there are no cameras, this thing is still scanning in a radar sort of format, and it knows when people get out of bed and go to the bathroom and all that things. So what has been the feedback from residents at the places where you've adopted this?
Really positive. Literally overwhelming positively, because that's the reason why Paul is as well used in independent living, not only like in those environments with higher needs. It's literally from independent living up to memory care, one device serving them. And it's about education in the end. So we invest a lot in about education of the residents. They opt in, you know what I mean? They have the choice if they want to participate and benefit.
So even at an assisted living facility, somebody could opt out?
Yes, absolutely, of course, because it's their home. So, but so far they totally understand that this is really different, that it respects their privacy, because Paul cannot tell what a person is exactly doing. If they're reading the newspaper, it doesn't matter for achieving these results, because he has to understand the motion patterns, how we move around and figure out if somebody has a changing risk profile. But in the end, it's about transparency. It's about education. I host a lot of resident council meetings where I'm literally there in person, answering all those questions, which are really important to educate that there are options which are new. Because all of the residents in the beginning still believe like, this is a camera, right? And I have to explain, no, it's not. It's not a camera. And we are not so used to radio waves and privacy-preserving tech because it's just like a newer kind of technology we are now able to use.
I got a couple of follow-up questions to that. Who owns the data, and could a health insurance company try to gain access to the data to readjust rates, anything like that? Let's just throw out the spooky, scenarios.
So short answer, no, they don't. They have no ability to get access to that because it's like literally my background, cybersecurity. I was in charge of exactly this part of this healthcare organization in Switzerland. So therefore, we built the system with that in mind to have this trust because our clients we serve are the residents which need to have the benefits. So in the end, when they are having concerns about, let's say, the integrity of the company, because trust and integrity goes hand in hand. And this has been shown for us a really important part that they see like Switzerland seems for them as well neutral, you know what I mean? Sure. A neutral entity, Paul is the neutral pal, helping them to thrive. And I think this is a huge part of why we have success with so many residents.
Who pays for Paul? Is it paid for by the individual families or by the assisted living communities?
By the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there are other companies out there in this space, companies like CarePredict or Vire or Safely You. Safely You actually uses cameras, I guess, with their AI. Yes. What are you giving up in terms of sensing capability by not using cameras?
So the answer is, when you think about a camera, what is the purpose of a camera mainly, as we are used to? Ring cameras, when we have it in front of our house. Cameras are great to recording evidence. That's why you have a ring camera. You want to see like who's in front of your house. Yeah. This is not the purpose of what we do. That's why we have chosen to reach our goal. We needed to have the right information. Motion patterns are really early signs of indications about underlying health-related indicators. So we gave up some parts because, again, cameras have different value propositions for different use cases.
Sure.
We are not interested in that use case because it's within the home. So the radar was for us the right fit to get the job done.
I mean, I imagine though, camera, if there was a camera, it could show, oh yeah, this person is definitely on the ground. They have fallen, like fall confirmation. What level of confidence can Paul assign to a fall?
Same amount of confidence, because you need to think that Paul understands gait, posture, and literally everything about the motion pattern. So there are unique possibilities with this radar technology in that environment to get a similar outcome.
Interesting.
So that's why I would say for an in-home environment, if you think about as well from the perspective of the child or the family members, how many family members install a camera in their own bedroom?
Right. Sure.
You know, there's a reason why we don't do that. And I think that's the same question here, why privacy preservation is so important, that the residents, it's their home. It's literally something they stay long term. Yeah. So they need to feel comfortable.
You got to be comfortable. Tell me about your future outlook. Where do you see healthcare moving in the next 5 to 10 years? What kind of role will AI play in elder care specifically?
I think we are literally seeing now this technology like AI, which is the perfect match to address some of the really big problems. I mean, we have the demographic changes. You know, it's like more older people will be there. It's growing really fast. We need to have more assistance. And I see that AI has the ability to change the paradigm, that we can transform from reacting to be proactive in the full scale in an organization. Proactive care, spotting issues much earlier. Because the earlier we are in identifying an issue, the less of the crisis we will have. So AI is at the forefront of that.
Could this specific technology be reapplied to other conditions like identifying cognitive decline or things like that?
In theory, yes, absolutely. At the moment, we are laser focused on solving this really big pressing problem, you know, but I mean, there are others out there which go in that direction for getting more broader parts of the problem solved. And I see a huge potential for that technology to evolving over time, as we did already in the past, because of course, the more residents we serve, the more Paul has able to connect the dots, the more...
The better it gets.
Yes, of course. It's evolving all the time. So this is a dynamic environment, and that's where as well I see myself with Helpy pushing the boundaries at the cutting edge with this technology in senior living specifically, and AI.
Well, Sandro, the last time you spoke, we spoke several months ago. I think you were just in Arizona. Now you've expanded to 3 states. So the company is growing. The company is called Helpy. The product is Paul. Sandro Cilerzo, thank you so much for being on Generation AI.
Thank you so much for having me, Derek.
Hey, we're going to hear from some seniors and get their take on AI. What do they think about all this? How are they learning AI? That's next. Stay with us. Generation AI continues right after this. A lot of people feel a little overwhelmed when it comes to AI. How do you use it? Where do you start? What should you avoid? The folks at the community center over at Optum in Goodyear were getting so many of those questions, they decided to hold a class, AI for Seniors, and we tagged along.
AI is a very fast evolving space. It is moving exponentially fast, right?
Instructor Alan Gordon starts class with a simple question. What is AI?
The more information you give AI, the more specific the response.
He explains it's when a computer can learn or problem solve like a human, and he offers some examples.
It can recognize faces, right? Your smartphone. It also might suggest some music. AI can do a lot. It can help us do data analysis. If you're working from a business, it can help us create something from nothing, like recipes, right? An example that I gave was, I have rice, eggs, and whatever vegetables in the fridge. I don't know what to make. Can you give me a recipe?
Gordon is a manager at Optum Community Centers. He also happens to have a master's in AI and business from ASU. He says AI first emerged as a field of research in the 1950s when computer scientists set off to create software that could reason. Today, it's everywhere.
Who uses a voice assistant?
In Amazon's Alexa, in your phone call with customer service, and in your browser with ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini.
The biggest message to take away was that AI is meant to be a support, it's meant to be an assistant, and it's meant to augment things that we're already doing, right? It's not meant to replace it.
So it can do a lot of good, but you also want to be skeptical.
Exactly. Skepticism is extremely important with AI, right? And the main reason for that is because there's a lot of room for misinformation. One of the other things I talked about was hallucinations.
Hallucinations are when AI makes stuff up and presents them as a fact when it's actually wrong.
Always remain skeptical.
And that's why Gordon cautions about relying on AI for something like a medical diagnosis.
AI is meant to be a support and assistant. It's not meant to be a provider. It's not meant to be a doctor.
In this group of 27 seniors, we met Yolanda and Mary.
I came to the class because I wanted to know, how is AI going to benefit me?
They also wanted to know how to avoid the new dangers that AI can unlock, something Yolanda encountered firsthand.
I had somebody call me and they kept yelling at me, "Mommy, mommy, help me." And this is, I have two full-grown daughters, and this was an adult voice. And I'm going, "Sorry, you got the wrong number. You're not my daughter." It was a girl, but I know my daughter's voice very, very well. And I knew that was not my daughter.
Do you think they were maybe using an AI tool, though, to manipulate the voice?
Yes.
From cloning voices to making fake images and videos, generative AI can make it tough to tell what's real and what's not.
I think with those things in particular, there's a lot of different ways to identify that, whether it's inconsistent information, or maybe a tiny little thing that you might see in the image, or whether somebody's glitching through a wall in a video that AI created.
So finding those visual inconsistencies would be one giveaway, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Also maybe, the sound quality, the audio, or eye movements, or things like that.
Exactly. One of the most popular tests when it comes to artificial intelligence is like the Will Smith spaghetti test. And initially when AI came out, they had a video of Will Smith, and it did not look like him at all. He was like all kinds of spaghetti flying all over the place. And more recently, it looks like Will Smith is actually eating spaghetti, but you'll find that the sound isn't really consistent with his face movement. So that's kind of a way to identify it as well.
But Gordon says AI can do a lot of real good too, and that's what Mary is curious about.
I just bought an organ.
Like a musical instrument.
Right,
Yeah.
an actual musical organ, right, with the rhythm box. Like, can the AI teach me how to play it?
You can go to chatgpt.com and you can say to the chatbot, you can type in, say, "I just bought an organ, teach me how to play an organ. What do I need to learn?"
Okay.
And it'll start generating a lesson for you
Really?
on how to play the organ. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that AI can do, and I just challenge the members to be creative, right? Just to talk to ChatGPT or talk to Gemini and say, "Hey, can you do this?" or "How can I do this?" and see what it gives you.
This was the second AI class at Optum Community Center in Goodyear, and the staff tells me there will likely be another. If you're looking for even more advanced tips on how to use AI, like how to get AI to write in your own personal style, how to ditch your keyboard and control AI with just your voice, or maybe even how to use an AI agent, check out our first episode with Allie K. Miller, one of Time's 100 most influential people in AI. You can find past episodes of Generation AI on azfamily.com or by installing Arizona's Family Plus on your smart TV. That's it for this episode, but we'll be back next week with another edition of Generation AI. We'll see you in the future.